Get ready, South Bay, on October 9th from 5 to 9 p.m. at the stunning California Surf Club in Redondo Beach. Thrive South Bay is bringing women together for an unforgettable night of empowerment, clarity, and connection. Think motivational speakers, collaborative workshops, high energy networking, and a surprise guest you will not want to miss, all as the sun sets on the coast. It's time to realign with what matters most and step into your next level, mind, body, and purpose. Grab your spot today at thrivesouthbay.com. Welcome to season 2 of Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentasana. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers who share their raw, real stories of perseverance, resilience, and building a life and business with impact. We talk about everything from entrepreneurship and family to purpose and living fully. My goal is to inspire you to start that dream, push through the hard seasons, and wake up every single day ready to live the life you were born to live with passion and purpose. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. We're back in the studio today, and I have one of my favorite guests returning today. We had the most amazing conversation, and I couldn't wait to have her back because we really just didn't finish our conversation. She and I can go on, and we have to have a timer in front of us to keep track of the time so that we're not going too long for you guys. But I just couldn't wait to get Karina Pacific back in the studio to share so much about her journey that we didn't get to finish last time. So, Karina, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, always fun with you.
I know we have too much fun.
Go on and on and on.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a regular thing where we're going to have to like sit down every few months and
exactly. So quarterly catch up.
You are the founder of Kismet K, your skincare company, and you're also a realtor.
Yes.
And you are just doing all the things. You're a mom. You have you're an empty nester now. Your daughter is off living her best life in New York.
She really is.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I have a daughter as well that is off doing her thing, working, and it's an amazing time in their lives, and so feels so good to like see them, flourishing and thrive.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like their wings are completely, flying and doing their thing.
It's an amazing thing, and just knowing that you can watch these children grow up and become these human beings. And then I have 2 boys at home, and I'm watching them becoming, men, and it's so much fun. And while they're doing their thing, we get to do our thing and step into our purpose and our passion every single day. And that's what you've been doing. And we'll get more into that as we continue the conversation. But I want to start where we left off. We're starting to dive into your journey after divorce. And because we really both thought this was an important part of the conversation that we should dive into a little bit more, because you've really just been flourishing and thriving since divorce. And I think it's something that we need to talk more about what it looks like to go through the divorce journey. And of course, it's hard no matter what, no matter if you're the one that wants out of the divorce or not. It's a challenging time, but it's also a growth period.
Right.
And I think we need to really kind of dive into that conversation so that there's women who are out there who are feeling like, I don't know if I want to get divorced because I'm afraid of what it will look like on the other side.
That's tough.
We're not encouraging divorce by any means here in this conversation, but if you've done all the work to try to make your marriage work and it isn't happening for you, we want you to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Take us through a little bit, kind of back to when you realized that your marriage wasn't salvageable. What were you going through? What was that? What did that look like for you?
Well, I knew it for a while, and I was terribly patient. And just, we're women. We see the best in people. And I just saw all the best. And my ex-partner in 23 years. So it was a lot, it was a quarter of a century with somebody. But I knew it when my health started acting up. I started getting anxiety attacks, which I wasn't used to. That was just not in my DNA. Like I didn't even know what it was. But when you're hyperventilating and that person is not taking that serious, I realized I had lost that person. And also it just was taking a toll on my spirit. I was getting smaller. So I had an idea that this is not tangible long term. And what happened was, and there's that thing we always hear that women, we are patient, we're givers, and then we snap.
Yeah.
And that was that one snapping moment when I was being pestered at. There would be arguments and they just escalated. And that's my health would just sort of, I just get them on the little ball. But this time I just snapped, and there was something like a higher like voice that said, "That's it,"
Yeah.
and it literally said, "That's it." And that's when I would say, get curious about how it's affecting your body, your health, your mind, body, and spirit, your digestion. Like if it's affecting you in health, it's not worth it. Nothing is worth our health.
Right. And I think that snap is really protection.
Yes.
It is your instinct, like you would as a mother, to protect your child if they were being hurt.
Yeah.
You're now physically struggling with your health.
Because now it's affecting, and the body keeps the score. There's that book, but it's true. And we'll go into some of those modalities, but my body was taking it all in, and now it was keeping score, and now it was lashing out.
Right.
So I just kind of had a little epiphany that there's this process is the before you make that decision, the during, the hot mess or the divorce, and then the after. It's almost like pre-menopause, during, and post-menopause, right?
Wow.
And a lot of these women, me included, I went through that, like pre-menopause with the pre-divorce, brewing on when I'm going to make it, if I'm going to make that decision. The middle of it, you're in menopause, you're in the thick of it, of actually leaving, and how scary that is. And then the post.
Wow.
So I just realized that that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, you're in those three phases. And you were literally going through this physically, menopause.
Yes.
While you were going through your divorce process.
I just thought of it right now.
Wow.
It just dawned on me.
Wow.
So that's a scary decision to make. So that's your sort of, space.
Right.
That it looks different for everybody. But I would just say, just have grace, but just get curious about how your body is being affected by not being in the happiest situation, I guess.
Yes.
Then the post, you leave, and that it looks different for everybody. Some people just it's a hot mess, and it's really grieving, it's painful from the start.
Yeah.
And for me, I came out hot, and I was like, because that energy that was dragging me down was no longer there.
Right.
So I was now alone. I thankfully stayed with a friend, and I was free from that energy that was sort of altering my body. So I was partying, I came out friends, and I was just out. And I had one of my best friends, Maria, said, Karina, if you do decide, she told me this 5-10 years before, if you do decide to leave him, just know that men are going to come and just put their claws in, because you're going to be so vulnerable. Men are out there in the prey. They're just out there. They know who the easy ones are, and not easy because we're loose, easy because we're so vulnerable. We're sort of in that sort of grieving, painful. We're not alert. We're not making sense of who's good, who's not good.
Right.
And she was right. Like they just came in, like just putting the claws.
And you're talking about men that you would potentially date out after you left your marriage.
After I left my marriage. And they were just, they just knew, and I was very
picked up
vulnerable.
on your energy.
My low energy, just of how vulnerable I was.
Wow.
And I remember that from my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, these are not genuine people, because I'm not in that genuine place. Right. So
that is such a good point what you just said, because when I'm not in a genuine place, because that's true for anything.
Yeah.
If you're not resonating in your energy of owning who you are, confidence, trusting your intuition and knowing your place, you're going to pick up people that are picking up on that energy.
Yeah.
And that is so true about no matter what you're going through, whether it be, struggling, at work or whatever. There's people that pick up. I mean, this is universal, and it's not, and it's honestly not intentional. I don't think that people are looking to prey on people. I think it's subconscious.
Sometimes
and I think
they do, but yes.
Sometimes they do, for sure.
Yes.
But I think a lot of this is energetic, and they've been drawn where they are in their inauthentic place is being drawn to your energy in a different way. I mean, we could do a whole episode on this conversation.
100%. And that can apply in the workplace, with friendships, with women, or any area. Like if you don't have an agency about yourself, your strong sort of strength, we draw where we have an area of growth.
Correct.
Right? Peter
Yes.
Crone has that saying, you draw people and circumstances to tell you where you're not free. Did I
Ooh,
just
I
butcher
love
that?
that.
I
Yeah.
think it's just what Peter Crone best quotes.
Yeah, this is so good. And I talk a lot about this in my book,
Yeah.
upcoming book as well, about how you pull people in for certain lessons and reasons at certain times in your life.
Right.
And this is, I mean, this has been talked about and written about for decades.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to regress a little bit, but I realized, I believe that patterns matter. When I was an early mom, a young mom, I realized that a lot of the moms that were gravitating to me were single moms. And I was like, why are they like single? Well, I realized I was raised with a single mom. So I hadn't cut that cord. I hadn't cut right? So like, I would just, as moving forward, as far as if you do make that decision, get really curious about yourself.
Yes.
And like get to know your patterns. What were those patterns during my marriage and even before my marriage that no longer serve me? Those patterns that I could change, I could sort of shift around. But like that was a big pattern. Like it was a big sort of history that I had not cut the cord with or made peace with. And it's not like single moms. Single moms are amazing.
Yeah, of
but
course.
it was just a pattern I realized because I wasn't single. I was married.
Yeah.
So why wasn't I drawing that? I still had mother issues.
It's so I'm as you're speaking about this, and we'll get back to the question
we always
because
do
you and
this.
I can go on and on. You guys are flies on the wall for our conversations that get really deep on our road.
Yeah.
Our
road
trips up
trips
to
are the
LA
best.
when we're going to some event and we're just getting deep.
Yeah.
You're here for the ride. But yeah, I was gonna say I have a girlfriend, one of my best friends growing up, and you know her as well.
Yeah.
And her mom would always say, when you come into a marriage, you bring along your little red wagon, which is basically all of your crap from your life. And if you haven't worked through that stuff,
Yes.
you're going to bring it into your marriage. And that's going to create a
And
dynamic
into parenting,
into your marriage.
into the friendships.
Everything.
It's just sort of gets spilled around your whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is if you're in a relationship right now where you're married and you're going through this time, it's time to look inward. It's
Yes.
time to look at all your stuff and not point the finger and say, he's not doing this, he's not here for me. And maybe all of that's true, but it's also time before you make any decisions to really look inward at what am I bringing and what have I
1,000%.
brought into this relationship that's created this dynamic.
What part of that is me too?
And what part of that is me? It's getting curious,
Yes.
like you just mentioned, and asking yourself, what do I need to learn right now? I mean, this is all in my book as well, but what do I need to learn about me and my part in this before I make a big decision?
Right. Because if you don't, that stuff is going to go on to the next person.
Correct.
In the next relationships. And it's just going to the wagon's still going to be carried on. You got to sort of like pick up, open it apart and see what needs to be healed, what needs to be elevated, removed.
Yeah,
Like you got to sort of clean up the wagon.
And so once you do that, and I think this is a perfect segue into the next question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Once you do that and you realize, okay, I've taken responsibility for my part. I know my part in this. We've tried to work on this.
Yep.
This isn't going to change.
Yeah.
He's set in his ways. I may be set in some of my ways. And I'm also growing. And now I'm growing beyond maybe where our relationship can meet up again. What does that part look like? Like once you take ownership of your part and you start to look into growth, what are those, what were the things that you did? Like the resources, the tools.
Post leaving the marriage and in the middle
or accepting that it was over.
Yeah. So modalities and kind of what I did to kind of heal. Oh, there was a lot. So I call that phase my second rebirth. My first rebirth was in my 20s. And then that's when that was a self-development era. And so there was, I got into therapy. Marianne Williamson was a big one for me. A Woman's Worth is a worth reading. It really kind of speaks miles as far as women still in the world. It feels like it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And I just read a lot of that stuff. So that was my first rebirth. That was my second. And I realized when I left my marriage, I'm like, I'm going to have to do a lot of what I did back then, but better because I'm older and more upgraded, more elevated. So I just started getting curious. And I went to, I did a ton of things. Like I did a trip to the Grand Canyon with a bunch of ladies. And part of it is being part of community, being part of ladies, make new friends. So I got into this, I went to this retreat where the Grand Canyon and all these women were going through the same thing. The majority divorced. Some of them are just alone and just wanted to figure out why they were alone. And it was just always something. Parents, whatever you want given to the child, the wagon. We were all carrying the wagon. So that was really cathartic because it's painful. You go down the canyon, you come up. It's a lot of body exhaustion, and you do purge emotionally, physically. And I came back from that. That was really good. And I thought, what's more? What do I need to do more? And I, for some reason, got really curious, which was not like me before, into earth and plant medicines, psychedelics. And so I got into a couple of those journeys, earth and plant. And the earth one was the most cathartic for me. And it was almost therapy on steroids. And those journeys, for me, it really helped me.
Are you comfortable sharing what it was called?
Yeah, it's the toad. It's a 5-MeO DMT, and that came up. So this one day, I went to the gym. I'm like, okay, I need to what else? What else? God give it to me. And then so I was doing my makeup, listening to my podcast, usually yours or somebody else. You didn't have yours back then. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
No, mine's only been a year.
Yeah, exactly. So I was listening to The Goop, William Paltrow, and it had Michael Pollan, Your Mind on Drugs. And I thought, that's an interesting title. So he was speaking on the podcast about he did all these different earth and plant medicines to write about this book. And he talked about the toad, which is the Sonora Desert toad that's in Mexico. And long story short, just Google it. But I felt like, oh, this is really interesting. He didn't speak positively about it.
Oh.
I think his friend said that he had not a good journey, maybe too much or too little. Don't know.
Okay.
But I got curious because it was the best medicine, the toad has to be from Mexico, from the Sonora Desert. And I thought, this is where I'm from.
You're from.
I'm from Mexico. I'm it feels sort of ancestral. And I just well, how do you find this? And I'm okay, it'll come to me. Next day, I'm standing in the same place, listening to different podcasts, getting ready, putting my makeup on. And my friend calls me, says, have you heard of the toad? And I said, yesterday. Tell me when, how much. I'm there. Let's go. And I went, and it was just I got really lucky. So, because you can get, you
have to be very careful about the facilitators.
1,000%. Yeah. I've been very blessed in all these journeys I've done. It was the perfect shaman from Australia, just a total healer. And I purged it all out. There was grief, there was sorrow, there was kicking on the floor, there was laughter, there was bliss. It was all of it. And I did that twice that summer before he went back to Australia. And that really kind of opened up a lot of the whatever just was brewing in there. And it just
let it release.
So I did a bunch of that. Hot yoga, I feel like is so good for you. And also it really opens up the ligaments, and it feels like you've been baptized because you sweat so much, right?
You're purging all of that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
EMDR has been really helpful for me.
Can you explain EMDR a little bit?
So EMDR is eye movement, desensitization, sensation, something like that. So it's they do either with a pen or a little compass. You kind of just exercise the eye, you follow it, and then they're prompting you with questions based on what you've shared with a psychotherapist. And I during some of those exercises, I went back to my subconscious when I was little, and that's where it reminded me of remember I said that I was tapping the shoulder, go back, you're not safe. I was alone when I was 7 years old.
You told that story on a previous episode.
Yeah, on the previous episode. That's when I knew I had guardian angels. I was being looked after, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I went back to a lot of my young inner child. And what that gave me, I thought was the best gift. It was self-compassion. Oh. Just to have really self-kindness and compassion. And I think that's pivotal to any healing. If you're going to have any growth, it just self-love, compassion. I love you, Karina. I like you. Like
Yeah.
just self-compassion. I mean, just a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Journaling, poetry therapy. Well, you're going to meet Jenny.
Yes,
At-
Jenny's going to be
yeah,
doing leading a guided
yeah,
writing session for
yeah,
us on our mastermind Zoom
yeah.
next month. I'm so excited about that.
It's wonderful. Like
Yeah.
it's just to kind of put things into words out there, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't think poetry is perfect.
Yeah, no, I know. It's one of those things. I've always loved to write poetry, and I've always loved to express myself through writing. But
Right.
it's always, no matter if you're a writer or not a writer,
Yeah.
it's challenging.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's no perfection in writing. I think most writers will say that.
1,000%.
Yeah, but it's a great way. I love that you brought up journaling. I mean, if you're not into
Yeah.
these heavier ways of getting to your subconscious, like the psychedelics,
Yeah.
you can just write. I mean, at the very least,
Yeah.
keep a journal.
a
And if you're
journal.
going through something painful, it has been, I mean, I look back now and I'm like, gosh, I was writing my whole life. I kept a diary since I was 10 years old. No wonder
Yeah.
I
You're
do
writing.
this. I'm writing all
Yeah.
the time. And it is really a healing tool that is so easy, 10 minutes a day
10 minutes
to
a
just
day.
sit down and get it out.
And even when you feel like I've gone into the paper, I'm like, well, I have nothing to say, and I'm like, I have nothing to say. I'm so mad, like, and all of a sudden, you like a paragraph later, and it just comes out.
It does.
Yeah.
It comes, you can literally write, I'm having a bad day because I got in a fight with my mom and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, it's way down into the core of whatever it is
and
that
you-
you're going
whoa,
through. Yeah. And you're like,
that's
wow, I
interesting.
needed to get that off my chest. Yeah. So powerful. There are so many ways.
There's so many.
And I have to refer back to something that you just shared, because I love this so much. This is what I live for. The breadcrumbs, the moment that your friend called you and asked you about Toad,
Yeah.
and you had just read it. That is a big fat, what I call giant breadcrumb.
Yep.
And this is basically the pretense of my book that's coming out. And I don't mean to keep mentioning it, but you're talking like in my language right now, about those moments that happen. That is a nudge from the universe or God saying, go do that.
Go do that. I mean, I would not have known how to find it.
Right.
Like, it's just, I was just listening to it. And when it's given to you that quickly, that's just the universe, God for us. I mean, faith is numero uno for us. So it comes to us. And you can make a decision and say, no, sounds scary.
Yeah.
But it's there. It came
there
for a reason.
and it will come back. And I think this is the point too, is that when you get those little nudges, when you're open to receiving those nudges, when you have done this work to become open to listening to your intuition, to trusting whatever the universe is sending you in these moments, you don't hesitate. You take
You
that
do it.
that you take that breadcrumb and you run.
Yep.
Because that is God. That is the most valuable gift that you can be given. If you're closed off and you're not listening and you're pushing it down out of fear, it's going to come back. And you're just avoiding what is necessary for you to go through.
Yep.
And I think that's such an important lesson. A lot of people have a hard time making decisions. It's because they're closed off and not listening to their intuition.
Or they're stuck in their way. They think they can control it with their own way. And I always say, like, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, we've all been there, right?
Yeah,
and
we've
so
been there,
you get to that point where you're like, I'm sick and tired of not moving forward and running around in these circles over and over again and not knowing how to move out of whatever it is that I'm going through. In this case, divorce, pain, loss of a marriage, loss of a life, of grieving a marriage is grieving the death of something.
It's sad. I mean, there were times for sure where I've been on. So my daughter had moved with my ex-husband to his new place, which was nicer, and so I had to come home to our old home where it was where I raised a family.
Yeah.
So being there alone was lonely many nights. So it's not like I went into this personal growth thing and it just happy ever after. Like it was scary. Like I've been on the ground crying, sobbing, praying, and just like, oh my God. Scary, financially scary, emotionally scary. Friends dropped out.
Yeah.
But then you get back up and you're like, I'm gonna be okay, because it always works out, and I've always been okay. Like I've never been forgotten.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And I think the beautiful thing is that you learn that you can do it, that you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we all need friends and we need our support systems.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about community all the time
Yeah.
and surrounding yourself with people. You have to have that. But in the end, when you can get back up on your 2 feet on your own and say, I survived, I did it, and I'm here, and I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to keep thriving, and I have a whole life ahead of me.
Yeah.
It is the most amazing feeling in the world. And I think there's talk about building confidence, talk about building self-love. You know, that is an amazing experience. If you have to go through this period, and it doesn't have to be divorce, it could be anything. I mean, for us, it was, a failure of a restaurant and that dream dying.
Right.
And it didn't die, it just rebirthed in a new way.
Yes.
And I think that if you can look at things that way, you can really change your perspective and outlook about anything that you go through in life.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, like, make sure to, because it does feel very lonely and it's very scary, even though divorce happens more than 50% of marriages. So it's like sadly not uncommon.
Yeah.
Like other women did it. You can do it. Just have, your 2 or 3 friends that will check in on you.
Right.
And I was really lucky. Like my friend, hey, have you heard of the Toad? Like he was always checking on me. My friend MJ, Mercy was always checking in on me, and a couple of others that just have those core ones. They're always going to be there.
Right.
And also reach out.
You have to reach out.
Yeah.
And I think this is the hard part for people. They feel like, and we were talking off camera before we hit record about the fact that when you're going through challenging times in life, sometimes the friends that have always been there with you and for you during the great times don't know how to be there for you during the hard times. That doesn't mean they don't love you.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they're not there for you. They're just there for you in a different way.
Yeah.
And you do have to find the people during those challenging times that know how to go through that with you in a way. And it's not like there's any right or wrong way to be there for someone that's going through pain. And if you're going through pain right now, you may need to reach out and say, hey, I need a friend tonight.
Right.
Or can you come over and let's make dinner and have a glass of wine?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask, because I think sometimes people get caught up in their lives. They're busy with their own lives, their kids, whatever, and they don't realize how much pain you're really in. And they may check in once in a while and say, hey, how's it going? And you don't want to be that downer friend that says, I'm really having a hard time right now. But sometimes with the right people, you need to be able to do that. I
had one who that was a friend and never checked in on me. We traveled together. We broke bread together. And I said, I'm going through this. And she said, I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to be here for you. And that hurt a lot because I was in so much pain that I actually latched out. There was a saying, hurt people. I was hurt. And I felt like, you hurt me. I hurt, like, how do you not there for a friend? Or like, not even, don't say that. Like, you know what I mean? But so that could happen. You know, I had another friend that divorced many years past and said, in her experience when she divorced, that she started getting excluded from the couples things because they don't know how to add that third person, or they don't know how to. Right? Yep. So that can happen. It's not personal. They just don't know how to handle it. I don't know. How did you deal with it?
It was hard. I did have those friends that were like, come anyway. You know, and that was amazing because I had friends that were literally getting me, out of the house and coming by and saying, you can't sit here in your sweats. And, I was at the time living with my grandmother, and just I was 33 years old or 30, whatever I was. And like, sitting home on Friday and Saturday nights doing nothing because all my friends were married. I mean, I was young and all my friends were married with young kids. And so it was really hard. And I had to try to find outlets outside of my group of friends to have a life. But there were those friends who would come over and drag me out of the house, and they were amazing. And then, sometimes it was like, okay, when you're not busy with your kids, let's go grab lunch. And you have to be the one sometimes to put yourself out there. And that's hard, especially when you're used to just going along with the group all the time and used to having the flow. I think this is where I would love to dive into a little bit about what we were talking about, how when you're going through growth and change and you're in this season where you're no longer in the same place as a lot of the people in your life. That can be challenging because you're growing in a different way. And it's like when you grow apart in a marriage, you also grow apart a little bit in your friendships.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to
Engage.
relate and engage
Yeah.
with you when you're on this new journey. And I definitely experienced that. I kind of really quick, like you, got into, I mean, this is a long time ago, but got into a lot of the self-help stuff, got a spiritual advisor, was connecting with God on another level,
Yep.
was really going inward to do the work. And that changed some of the dynamics in my relationships. And that does happen.
It does, for sure. And it's not like you're above anything. You're just elevating yourself, you know,
Right.
just changing, tweaking things, removing what doesn't work for you anymore. And by that, you start changing your toolbox.
Yes.
And removing what came in handy, adding more tools, growing, da-da-da-da. But definitely I've noticed the last few months, like last month, every week I was getting personally attacked in a very sort of subliminal, like small ways. We're like, this isn't out of character for that person. And then
Right.
later you look a little deeper and there's a pattern happening. Like,
Yeah.
do I need to do something? Or is it because they just don't know how to relate with me? Or is it a threat? I don't understand it. We were just talking about it a
Yeah.
little bit. Like, I'm just still processing it, but like getting a little bit like attacked. It's just, it just feels, and I don't take it personal, which is so
Right.
interesting because before I would be hurt. What does it mean? But I've actually been praying for these people.
Right. And that's what ends up happening is you, because of all the inner work that you do
Yeah.
and all the growth work that you do and your connection, your relationship to your higher power,
Yeah.
God, whatever you call it, you do have a kind of a different vibration and relevancy to those that don't see you for you. Like they
Yeah.
aren't able to see that
Yeah.
as a positive, and it's hard for them. And so you almost look at it and understand, okay, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And
Or they're not there
or
yet.
they're not there yet
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's definitely, growth is hard. And a lot of people will talk to you about this. Like I have an amazing mentor that I mention all the time on the show who said to me one time, my first negative comment on social media about something, and she said, congratulations. You know, this means that you're
Doing
elevating and you're doing something that's striking a chord in people because it's maybe holding up a mirror to something that they're
Yeah.
not doing, or that they need to look inward at themselves, and that's uncomfortable.
Right.
And so it's kind of like I choose to look at it now as kind of like a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
That I'm if I'm striking a chord, that means I'm getting people to think
Right.
about their own choices, and
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses for behavior that maybe
Right.
isn't helping others.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Like I just had this conversation with you about a friend that I was talking to about a mutual friend that's so happy and just coming out of a divorce and so happy and engaged in all these amazing things. And people are starting to make comments about, you know, is it too soon? Did she do enough work on herself? And I'm like,
why are you
guys,
judging?
why are you judging?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Let her be happy.
Yeah.
And not only that, you don't know what she went through
Yeah.
to get to this point.
Yeah.
You didn't see all the inner work that it takes to be ready to finally be happy. And so growth can be scary for people.
100%.
And especially if it's hard for them to look inward and do the work on themselves to get to that place. And so it's a really interesting, but we just hold the space for allowing people to be where they're at
Yep.
and grow at their own pace when they're ready. And we can't be flustered
Right.
by someone who's judging us for what we know to be our truth
Right.
and a good thing.
Right.
And I think that's a new thing. So if you're going through pain and you're in that place where you're looking to grow and evolve, just trust the process. It is so important to be where you are and trust the process, that you're in a period of transition
Right.
and growth and change, and it's all good and it's part of your path and your journey. And
Yeah.
to just trust that and know that the right people are coming into your life to support where you are.
I would, and also because that process can be heavy and just it's a lot of work. If you're gonna dive in, go all in, and
Yeah.
I applaud you because a lot of people don't want to because it is work.
Yeah.
So while you're going through that, what I did for myself is also have fun. Like don't get
Yeah.
too serious.
Such a good
Just like
advice.
I
Yeah.
would, I'm like, I gotta have, I mean, we like to have fun and laugh and dance and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like, I'll dance by myself at the house with my dog.
Yeah.
Or like, I really wanted to do hip hop. So I started taking some classes. I'm
Yep.
terrible. I'm terrible. I'm so uncoordinated. I have no idea. And I just, in front of these women, just completely making a fool.
Yeah.
But like that actually taught me that is a rewiring of the brain trying to do all these steps. And so when my mind starts working and trying to figure out, it's, coordination. I use
Yeah.
like mind to feet.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's really, I need to do more of that because it really moves you to a different space, out of your head into
Movement into your body.
Nervous system regulation has become quite important to me. Since last fall.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about, because I know I personally understand that now about regulating my nervous system more often when I get stressed, and I tend to like take on a lot, and then I overload
react.
myself, and then I react, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no. And I know now, like deep breaths,
Yeah.
going and getting quiet, sitting
Yeah.
out in nature,
Yeah.
certain things that I can do. What do you do to regulate your nervous system?
So I started with, and I wrote it down because I knew I wasn't going to define it well, but I came across To Be Magnetic, a TBM, last fall. Well, no, actually, no, last year. And it's this platform, and it's a neuroscience manifestation reprogramming subconscious program that sort of works to unblock your blocks through various workshops. So this platform has a bunch of workshops like unblock your inner child, unblock shadow, unblock money, unblock love, all kinds of things. And you can take these workshops that can be 1 to 3 weeks self-guided.
Okay, cool.
And then in each sort of workshop, you do a lot of deep inquiry, journaling, and they prompt you with the right questions for that particular, say, inner child.
Got it.
And then you do DIs, and they're direct imagings. Essentially, it's like a guided meditation. And she guides you also for that workshop, that theme, with what I'm going to butcher the word, binaural
Okay.
beats, like music.
Okay, got it.
My Spanglish sometimes
Yeah.
gets in the way. So it's to support with the frequencies with the guide. From there, that kind of really brought meditation into my life. And I used to like avoid it like the plague. It's just sit in stillness. Now I crave it.
Yeah,
I
that's
crave
amazing.
meditation, like at least 10 minutes a day. You can find free ones on Spotify. Like find your thing, tuning forks. But meditation. But they're the ones, TBM, that kind of really taught me about nervous system regulation, and just sort of calming itself, and just not being reactive.
I love that.
Now I see it in others, how reactive people are so easily. And I mean, obviously I do it from time to time. I'm Latina, so I'm going to be like,
Yeah, you're spicy, girl.
I'm spicy.
Yeah.
So I can be sharp, and I can trigger people because I'm very blunt, but that's just part of the
Yeah, and
process.
it's also just a level of awareness
Yes.
that it gives you to not react in
Yes.
the moment. It's
Yeah.
there's so many people who say, "Oh, don't react." Well,
No.
it's not like you're trying to react.
Yeah.
It's an automatic response that you have to train yourself
Right.
to slow down and count, breathe, all of the techniques.
Yeah.
So we'll have that TBM. We'll
Yeah,
have that in
yeah,
the show notes.
yeah,
So if
yeah.
people want to check that out,
Yeah.
was that virtual or in person?
It's virtual.
Okay.
It's a website.
So anyone
there's
can
an
go to it.
app, and I save a lot of my DIs.
Okay.
So if when I go back into an abundance one, I want to
Yeah.
go back into a confidence one or whatever it is. Yeah, like
Amazing.
there's a bunch of modalities that like just touch earth. I just go out, and if you have grass, sand, like touch earth and just be one with Mama Earth. It just sit there in silence. Just let it be. Nothing may come through, but also that's bringing the nervous system, calming,
Exactly.
rest and digest.
I mean, we could sit here and talk about, you have so many insights when it comes to healing the body, how to get in touch with yourself. You've done so much. We could do a whole other episode on that. I mean,
my God,
we're
that
going to have to do
alone.
a series.
Supplements,
Yeah,
on
supplements.
working
And we're going to have to do a
out. Yeah,
series with you, because it's amazing. I mean, talk about learning how to thrive. So that segues us into, I want to talk now about you've taken us through your journey of the pain, of processing, of relationships, of modalities that have helped you to heal. Tell us what your life is like now. Like, what does it mean for you to be on the other side of divorce, where you are, how you're living your life, and just, so you can paint the picture to give some women hope of what it looks like.
What it looks like now. It's still scary financially, right? Because you want to make sure that you can, provide for self. And so having these two companies, you know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. It's hustle. But it's great. I come from, I was, born and raised in Mexico from nothing. I don't take this country for granted. Like, this is the land of opportunities where we can fail, we can grow, we can fail, crash, try something new, do it again, try three things. Like, and the resources are there. Like, this is where you can reinvent yourself over and over. This is why people want to come here. So I always rest in that, knowing, and now with these groups of community of women, like, our group is wonderful that you've curated so well. I belong to another one, a Christian one, my poetry one. Like, the communities are there to kind of elevate and rise together and help and support one another. Like the text chain that was going on this morning, like trying to support one another. I love that. I love that the friends that have weaned themselves out, that was just part of the journey. And I think you learn to set boundaries, which is so important to set boundaries for people that are draining you, because we're like 50. I'm going to be 53 next month. Like, we're on the other side. Like, we have to really take time really important, because we can't get time back.
Right.
So, like, we would have to I try to make better choices. If I'm going to do something, I really want to be there. I want to make sure, because there's nothing worse for me than doing something, whatever it is, and like regretting that I was there. I'm like, oh my God, I can't get that time back. When I say I can't get that time back, that time really, that was just a waste of time. Yeah. And so just taking time very serious, being in service. I got to get back to my sort of just doing philanthropy and volunteering, because I gave it the 2-year break while I was doing the healing. I just thought I just couldn't be of service if I wasn't good with myself. Right. Well, it can be a distraction too. Yeah. Right.
I think we all have good intentions to do philanthropy work, and then you end up pouring so much into it, and then you kind of start to let go of the needs of yourself.
Yes, and
it's this delicate balance. I had to do the same thing. Because it is, they love the help and the support and everything, and then it can be,
and they want more, and they want more,
and it's amazing to do.
Because they need
and if it's something that genuinely serves you and lights you up, and it's part of what you love to do, great. But you do have to set boundaries around that too. I mean, we all say one of the best ways that you can get out of any, depression, or, not real depression, but rough period, is to go out and serve. Go out and help someone else and get your mind off yourself. Right. Which is so helpful. But then when you end up feeling depleted because you're giving to everything and everyone, which, as moms and, our kids are in school, we're constantly giving to the schools. We're constantly giving to PTA. And I'm sure that most of the listeners that are listening to this episode, are people like us who do everything for everyone all the time. And it's so important to kind of try to find that balance of giving back to yourself as well as, because I think we deplete, and then we crash, and then we're resentful that we don't have time for ourselves. And that's not a healthy balance, and it's a vicious cycle that you go through. And I had to learn how to do that. Just really kind of take a step back and look at how much am I emptying the tank outside, and what am I replenishing on the inside.
Refuel yourself.
So that's a huge part of thriving.
Right. Yeah. And I would, as you're saying about depleting, like, I would tell anybody going through this, or in general, we as women have to make time during the week to really do really good self-care and find your thing. Like, take a nice bath, or give yourself a little mini facial, or find that thing, that self-nurture. Really refamiliarize yourself with your feminine. Wear little dainties or lingerie, and just feel yourself, your femininity and your girly, and just find those tools that make you come back to yourself.
I love
in some way or
that.
another.
100%. I use so many, we talk about this in another a group of women that I'm in, where it's like we used to think self-care was take a bath and then move on.
Yeah.
And bubble bath is a huge part of that. If you love bubble baths,
Yeah.
I love lighting the candles and sitting there for 20 minutes. It's like those commercials with like mom's got the door locked and it's like, don't bug me for 15 minutes. I'm taking my bubble bath.
Yeah.
But literally it is more than that.
Yeah.
It is self-care is self-love.
Yeah.
Self-care is, going for a walk in nature.
Yep.
Self-care is going to get your nails done and doing all the things. And yes, it takes time. You have to commit
but you're worth
to
it.
those things, but you're worth it because you can't, it's like the oxygen mask theory that we've talked about so many times. You can't put on someone else's oxygen mask, your children, anyone that needs you if you are depleted.
Yeah, if you don't put it on yourself first.
Don't put it on yourself first and make sure that you're whole so then you can serve others.
Yeah.
So that really is what it looks like to thrive.
is.
And then to be living in your joy and doing all the things that you love doing, spending time socializing, spending time working, spending time connecting.
Right.
All the things that fill you up is really what thriving is like to me. I think when you're living, we all say, having balance. Well, the word balance,
I don't know about that.
I kind of say balance is BS. I've said that on this show a few times because balance is always ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
But as long as you're pouring into the parts of yourself and the parts of your life that light you up, you will feel balanced.
Right.
And I think that's so important to stay in those things that fill you up, that give you joy, that light you up. Like me doing this show with someone like you.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here all day. We could sit here and talk and just pour into each other.
And something you are, which I learned from TBM, they really talk about expanders and like the people you kind of look up to, or some areas that you want to put into your life, whether work, my marriage. So you're an expander in my life, and that's been something of like having expanders, and you may not know them. They may be a celebrity, they may be a coach or something, but like write them down and just try to expand to that level and open sort of your space. My daughter, we told her many years ago, like you're the average of 5 people. And she takes it very serious, so much more that now I had to like step up to her. she takes it so serious, and she reminds me, and it's now like when you ask what's on the other side, it's like you think of the people that in your life that are elevating you, and they're challenging you. I don't want yes people. I want people that kind of give it to me and like, you could do this better. They're loving, of course.
Right, of course.
But
it's in the approach.
Just, but yeah, you're a great expander of mine.
Thank you. You are for me as well. And I think, choosing your inner circle, choosing like your board of directors, as some call it. And it's like, who are the people who your go-to people in life, and how do you keep yourself starting and elevate yourself with those people, and raise the bar and constantly be evolving into that version of yourself that you're becoming. That's really what it means to thrive for me, is to surround myself with the people that I love spending time with, that lift me up, that light me up, that show me what it looks like to be a better version of myself, and they're doing it for themselves as well. That's what lights me up the most too.
And help other women as well, elevate them, give her the resources, and be just sort of a resource of information from what you learn, but know that some people may not be ready, and they have to come and ask for it, because sometimes you'll get pushed back.
For sure. And they just may not be in that place at that time. But I think it's about, I love what you said. And I think for anyone that's going through a difficult time, whether that be divorce or they're in transition in some way, just find your people. Find your people that lift you up. Join the groups. Do the things that are a little bit uncomfortable, that put you a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Like hip hop.
Your hip hop class. Like for me, it's like always like going to, another event that may push me into a space where I think think I'm not quite ready for, maybe a little imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm going to do it because I know that it's going to elevate me and make me.
Was that like the Rachel McCord one?
Well,
when we brought?
Rachel McCord for sure, but just even going to like some of these events that I'm traveling to and joining more things where I'm being around more like really powerful speakers, higher level people who've done the work for 30 plus years that I get to like just sit in a room with and learn from
and just eat it all up.
And just and it's eat it all up, but also just surround yourself with that kind of energy because we all have it within us.
We do.
And we all have it within us to step into our highest level of self if we choose to do that. It's a journey and it takes work, but it's possible. And I think so, you know, wrapping up this conversation with this is really like come full circle from, you know, where you are in your life that may not look the way you want it to look. And that can mean in the same relationship and just evolving that relationship if your partner's willing to do that. But if not, you can still do it.
And the journey continues.
And the journey continues.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there is light at the end of the tunnel.
1,000%.
Yeah. And you're a walking, living, breathing example of that.
Oh, because, you know, the work and friends, people like you, and just doing the work and just being very in tune with self.
Thank
and
you.
knowing that you're going to come
100%.
Yeah.
Karina, thank you so much for sharing all this.
We really could go on forever.
We could. There's so many more things. I mean, I have like 2 more pages of notes and questions to ask you, but you know,
I love that.
To be continued again, probably.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you for being here. I always love being with you.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening and watching. And be sure to download and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We'll have all the details of everything that Karina shared in the show notes, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this episode beneficial. And if you feel compelled to do so, share it with a friend who might benefit too. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Reach out to me anytime on my website at jenmentasana.com.